The Nancy Kissel murder case was a highly publicized criminal trial held in the High Court of Hong Kong, where Nancy Kissel was convicted of the murder of her husband, investment banker Robert, in their apartment on the 2nd of November 2003. Yes, this is another of those cases that's dealing with a murderous female that ended up, for whatever reason, to kill her husband. And you're about to hear why that was, because her reasons are still insane, just like the other woman that we covered a while back. On a return trip to the United States in mid-2003, Nancy met and had an affair with Michael Del Pryor, a twice-married electrical repairman who had rewired the Kissel home in Vermont. They remained in frequent telephone communication during the days and months prior to and immediate following the murder. Robert was suspicious of Nancy's infidelity and had hired New York private detective Frank Shea, president of Alpha Group Investigations based in New York and Boca Raton, Florida, to spy on his wife, and also secretly installed the spyware E-Blaster on her computer. She claims to have had some violent disagreements with her husband and says that her husband claimed to have initiated proceedings for divorce and for the custody of their children. Nancy drugged her husband by having their 6-year-old daughter give him a strawberry milkshake laced with a cocktail of sedatives. When it had taken effect and the children were out of the apartment, she bludgeoned him to death. She then rolled up his body in a carpet and had it placed in their storeroom in the Parkview complex. After her arrest, she admitted to killing her husband in self-defense, claiming that she had been in an unhappy marriage and was the victim of domestic violence. She claimed her husband had subjected her to rape and sodomy over a 5-year period. She also attempted to portray Robert as a work-crazed and controlling husband who had succumbed to habitual and regular cocaine and alcohol abuse. The trial began in June 2005 at Hong Kong's High Court, with the prosecution alleging that she murdered her husband. She pleaded not guilty. She admitted on the cross-examination that she had bludgeoned her husband to death, but claimed it was in self-defense after an argument about divorce had escalated, leading him to sexually attack her and then, when she resisted, to swing at her with a baseball bat. She claimed memory loss, testifying she had no knowledge of how she inflicted 5 head wounds with a heavy metal sculpture. She admitted to using Stilnox, one of the sedatives found in her husband's body, to doctor a bottle of Scotch single malt whiskey when they were living in Vermont in the hope that it would make her husband less aggressive toward their children. But she admitted it had no effect on him. Regardless of that, she admitted to trying the same thing in Hong Kong, but testified that when she saw the sediment it left at the bottom of the bottle, she poured out the drugged liquor, bought a new bottle and used it to partially fill up the old one, and then never thought about it again. The Kissel's neighbor, Andrew Tanser, testified he had become drowsy and then unconscious after sampling the strawberry milkshake. Kissel admitted making it for one of her children and a visiting child, but denied drugging it, stating she would never harm her children or anyone else's. The case against her was brought before Michael Lunn. At the end of the trial, lasting 65 days, on the 1st of September 2005, the jury of 5 men and 2 women anonymously decided on her guilt after 8 hours of deliberation. Kissel was sentenced to life in prison. She appealed her conviction in April 2008. That petition was rejected. She then lodged an appeal with the Court of Final Appeal of Hong Kong on the 12th of January 2010. The case was heard before a 5-judge panel led by then Chief Justice Andrew Lee on the 21st of January. The defense argued that the prosecution had improperly used evidence, including hearsay, and that the original jury instructions were problematic. On the 11th of February 2010, the Court of Final Appeal quashed the conviction and ordered a retrial, citing prosecution use of inadmissible evidence. She was permitted to seek bail, but ultimately chose not to apply. She was re-indicted on a single count of murder on the 2nd of March 2010, with the retrial due to start on the 10th of January 2011. According to the defense, Robert Kissel told his wife on the night of the 2nd of November 2003 that he was filing for divorce, saying that the decision was final and that she was unfit to care for their children. The defense also alleged she had long suffered from physical and sexual abuse. Nancy pleaded not guilty to murder, but guilty to manslaughter on the basis of diminished responsibility and provocation. She admitted to having an extramarital relationship with a TV repairman, and the prosecution alleged that she planned to run away with her lover in the United States after her husband's death, and that she stood to inherit her husband's estate worth $18 million. On the 25th of March 2011, after hearing evidence from over 50 prosecution and defense witnesses over 10 weeks, the jury of 7 women and 2 men unanimously found her guilty as charged. She was sentenced to life in prison. Another murderous wife. It actually makes me scary of ever marrying a woman. You never know if they go haywire and end up deciding to kill me. I better watch out as a man myself from now on, because this reminds me a lot about that other case that we covered a few days ago, or maybe a week or 2 weeks ago. I don't even remember exactly when it was. But there, we had another woman who killed her boyfriend in a brutal manner. This one sounds pretty brutal as well. You pretty much sedate him and then you bludgeon him to death. He's probably really unable to defend himself in such a state. And if she cheated on her husband, then that only seems to imply to me that this woman really was an ugly piece of filth. Does that hate me? Makes no sense to say that about a woman. Just say it like it is. Alright, she was a bitch, man. She was a fucking bitch. You don't know that. You don't even know her personally. I'm just going by what I see here on my screen right now. All this evidence that is presented here on Wiki is pretty insane if you ask me. However, her cheating on her husband and then killing him as well because he wanted the divorce, most likely, she didn't like that idea, is stupid. But then they mentioned that she was also out to maybe inherit his money, which is totally plausible because it happens, a lot more than we actually are realizing, that people sometimes are like, I prefer this person to die so I can inherit all their money. But if you kill them, you won't inherit it. So that's a dumb mistake on her part. If she really wanted that money, she should have stayed with him forever and then pray that he died earlier. Okay, I'm getting off track. I should not take sides with this woman. You shouldn't. Anyway, she's gonna be in prison for life, and that's where she belongs. So I hope, as a judge has said it before, I hope you die in prison. Another bizarre fact about this case is that the article actually says that his brother, Robert Kissel's brother Andrew, was actually found murdered on the 3rd of April 2006. I just find that really bizarre, First Robert dies and then his brother also gets murdered. They both got murdered, man. What are the odds of that? If you found this story interesting, please hit the like button below. And as always, dear viewer, have sweet dreams.